When we give them their lunch, they sit right down on the sidewalk and start eating it. They're obviously hungry. And that's the bottom line.
A funding crisis facing frontline services for the homeless will soon be debated at London City Council. Plus,
there's real concern there that when these fish are getting attracted, that they're actually being put at risk by the plant facilities themselves.
Concerns raised about fish safety near Kincardine off the shores of a nuclear plant. And a sweet treat for a good cause.
The funds are being used to support our pediatric oncology, kids with cancer.
The annual Smile Cookie campaign at Tim Hortons is back.
CTV News with Lauren Stallone.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. A funding crisis facing frontline services for the homeless will soon be debated at London City Council. As Sean Irvin reports, with federal money expired, agencies want the city to step in.
Volunteers with 519 Pursuit pack 120 lunches for some of London's most vulnerable.
When we give them their lunch, they sit right down on the sidewalk and start eating it. They're obviously hungry. And that's the bottom line.
But the bottom line remains in jeopardy as this agency continues to help those living in encampments and experiencing unsheltered homelessness. A federal program supporting programs like 519 Pursuit ended on April 1st. Another is expected to be finalized soon. But in the interim, 519 Pursuit and drop-in hours at Arcade Street Mission are underfunded. The agencies are hopeful London City Council will support a recommendation to provide up to $350,000 until the new federal program kicks in.
If we can get federal funding, which hasn't been guaranteed, this Band-Aid is a necessary piece in order to get us from here to there.
The agencies already have the support of several city councillors, including Mayor Josh Morgan, who has gone on record to say that some sort of stable funding must be in place while the agencies await a response from the federal government.
The funding has ended. The federal government's coming forward with a renewal of $125 million, and I commend them for that. But we got to provide some sort of stability in the interim.
As the full council is set to debate the proposal, 519 volunteers told us they recognize municipal purse strings are tight, but they fear the lifeline they provide for those on the street will snap without the cash.
The question is, how do you use your funds most effectively? But I can't see how helping people who are clearly hungry is contrary to using funds appropriately.
If we have less meals to give out, then that's more people that are struggling day to day.
And that, Jerry says, would be a tragedy.
But I think if you have any regard for your fellow human being, you've got to take this very seriously.
In London, Sean Irvin, CTV News.
The London Transit Commission is tapping the brakes on an idea that would have showcased local artwork inside their buses. The reason, a price tag that could reach $430,000 a year. Daryl Newcomb explains.
It turns out displaying reprints of local art inside London Transit buses would come with a Picasso-like price tag. But the London Transit Commission isn't quashing the suggestion until staff do a bit more consultation.
Anything we can do to try to make the trip a little bit more enjoyable, especially if it deals with arts and culture, would be very welcome by the riders.
Buses have advertising areas above passengers' heads that are segmented into 90-centimeter sections. Last August, it was suggested by a member of the public that London Transit could partner with local artists and poets to fill some of the unutilized space. So transit staff consulted with its contractor in charge of advertising and printing.
What we tried to do was give a range of scenarios. Obviously, it depends on how frequently you want to change that art, and recognizing the fact that we've got almost 250 buses in the fleet.
Printing the same piece of art for all 250 buses and changing it monthly would cost $39,000 a year. A selection of 5 pieces changed monthly would jump to $118,000, and 15 different different pieces changed each month would be $330,000, and hiring a staff member to oversee the program results in a total cost of $130,000 to $430,000 a year.
Staff resources, we currently do not have the capacity within our current complement to be able to manage a program like that.
The staff report describes the responsibilities of that new position as ensuring that the art and poetry that shows up is in the correct format and on schedule for printing, as well as ensuring that it meets LTC's content guidelines. The Commission did not recommend moving forward with a financial business case in City Hall's 2027 budget. However, they did direct staff to consult with the London Arts Council about how it could play a role in a potential program.
I'm wondering if there might not be more economical ways to do this, insofar as our participating artists might want to provide more copies. That's why I wanted to get the Arts Council more involved in this.
LTC staff will update the Commission after speaking with the Arts Council. Daryl Newcomb, CTV News.
Good evening. I'm meteorologist Gary Archibald for CTV News. We are looking at significant rainfall in the lower Great Lakes region. Good news is the worst of it, with tornado warning identified. Doppler indicated storms. They're stateside through Indiana, moving into Ohio. They'll stay south of Lake Erie, but what is on the way to us is already moving into extreme southwestern Ontario. Ahead of it, gusty winds. Yes, it's mild, but it's going to be unsettled tonight, wet and windy into tomorrow. And this temperature of 21, well, enjoy it, because midweek and beyond, it's going to get a lot cooler. I'll break down what you need to know on the complete weather front, pun intended, of course, just ahead. For now, I'll send it back to you at the desk. Lauren?
Thanks, Gary. London police have identified a suspect in a targeted shooting that took place nearly 1 year ago. As CTV's Brian Bicknell tells us, investigators hope tips from the public will help locate the man they believe is responsible.
An arrest warrant has been issued for 38-year-old Dennis Lee Churchill of St. Thomas. He is wanted on a dozen charges in total, including discharging a firearm into a place in a reckless manner.
We're very thankful in this incident that nobody was injured as a result of the firearm being discharged into the residence. Obviously, this has a huge concern for public safety, and it's something that we take incredibly seriously.
Police were called at 2:25 the morning of June 13th, 2025. After a citizen reported hearing several gunshots in the area of Emerald and Shelton Roads. Officers arrived and confirmed multiple shots struck a vehicle and garage door of a home on Emerald. No people were struck and no injuries were reported. Police say security video helped investigators from the guns and gangs section identify Churchill as the suspect.
We went through an extensive video canvass. We were able to identify a vehicle involved, and from there our investigation continued.
Police say this was not a random shooting, but the residence was targeted. Investigators believe someone knows where Churchill is.
We believe that members of the public may be aware of where he is residing or staying right now. We believe that he has ties, or we know that he has ties to the London area, as well as Tillsonburg and St. Thomas.
Police are advising the public that if you do see Dennis Churchill, do not approach him, as he is considered armed and dangerous. Simply call 911 and report your information. According to police, in 2025, there were 32 reported shootings in London. Brian Bicknell, CTV News.
A weekend fire caused heavy damage to a North London home. London fire officials say the blaze caused about $1 million in damage to the home at the corner of Carnforth Road and Grangeover Avenue. Crews were on scene today to assess the damage. The fire department was called to the home around 5 Saturday afternoon and found smoke pouring from the structure. No one was home at the time of the fire, and it is not believed to be suspicious. London police are searching for a suspect after a woman was assaulted in the downtown core. Police say the victim was entering a building in the Talbot and John Street area around 3:30 Sunday morning when a man assaulted her. The suspect then took off on foot. The woman sustained minor injuries. He's described as white, around 6 feet tall, 30 to 45 years old, medium build, and a short gray beard. The Saugeen Ojibwe Nation is raising some strong concerns about fish safety near the shores of a local nuclear plant. With more, here's Scott Miller.
Off the shores of Bruce Power sits a plethora of marine life, but that may not always be a good thing, contend biologists with the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation.
In many cases, they're being attracted to the plant potentially, and there's real concern there that when these fish are getting attracted, that they're actually being put at risk by the plant facilities themselves.
Bruce Power, the world's largest nuclear plant, uses large amounts of water from Lake Huron to cool its reactors. That water is ultimately discharged back into the lake warmer than when it went in, which attracts some fish species. Sometimes those fish make their way into Bruce Power's infrastructure and are killed doing so. The Saugeen Ojibwe Nation says their documents show large-scale fish kills going back as far as the plant's opening in 1977.
Most seriously, we had a major fish kill just one winter ago. So, in that case, there was close to 5 million fish that were killed within the plant infrastructure as a result of getting attracted and then unfortunately getting into the cooling infrastructure.
Bruce Power says they are governed by strict federal and provincial regulations, and they've made changes since 2025's major fish kill. Following the unprecedented fish event in 2025, which resulted from a rare convergence of environmental conditions, including prolonged cold weather and an unusually large presence of gizzard shad, Bruce Power promptly implemented additional protective measures. This includes the installation of physical barriers, acoustic and strobe light deterrents, enhanced monitoring, including technologies using sonar and camera-based systems, and expanded lake monitoring and research to better understand fish movement and ecosystem responses. Lauzon says the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation is working with Bruce Power to try and protect the multitude of fish that linger off the shores of the nuclear plant, including 3 at-risk and culturally significant lake sturgeon, Lauzon says are currently stuck within Bruce Power's system.
We've been trying to fix some of the ways the fish can get into the plant, but ultimately, if we keep attracting these fish to the plant, we got to look at that side of the equation as well.
Near Kincardine, Scott Miller, CTV News.
A date has been scheduled for the inquest looking into the death of a Sarnia tennis pro who was shot by police after an incident in downtown London. 29-year-old Justin Barassa died in October of 2021 after an interaction with London police officers along Richmond Row. Officers were responding to a reported break-in at the time when they wrongfully suspected Barassa. Police say that after an altercation, he started choking an officer before he was shot. The inquest date has been set for May 4th. It's hoped that the jury recommendations for the inquest will prevent similar deaths in the future. The 2 officers involved have been cleared of any wrongdoing. Parents who've lost children and young people who've been hurt showed up at Parliament Hill today with an important message. Kids are being harmed every day on social media. As Rachel Aiello reports, something has to be done about it now.
Time is up. Youth from across the country came to the nation's capital today with a clear message.
The time is up. Stop the delay and protect the kids today.
Armed with a stack of letters addressed to every single member of Parliament, they are calling on the federal government to urgently introduce and pass online safety legislation.
I have been waiting a third of my life for this to be reality.
As the first generation growing up fully online, they spoke about feeling unsafe on social media, using AI chatbots, and playing video games.
We can't vote, but our voices matter.
Parents who have seen what damage can be done to kids online were also there, including Amanda Todd's mother, who has long been demanding action after her daughter, a victim of cyberbullying, died by suicide.
Her story shocked this country, but what should shock us even more is that more than a decade later, children are still being harmed in the same ways.
The Liberals have been promising some form of online harms legislation since 2019. 2 different versions were tabled in Parliament and scrutinized, but both bills died between the last 2 federal elections. The youth then hit the Hill, meeting with decision makers from all parties to lobby for a new online harms bill this spring. Their push comes on the heels of Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew committing to ban social media and AI for children in his province.
Our kids will never be for sale, and their attention and their childhoods should never be profited from.
Well, as a parent, I share the same concerns as many parents. Too much screen time, highly addictive algorithms.
Today, the group also met with Mark Miller, the minister responsible for future online harms legislation. He's yet to say when a new bill may be ready, as he's still consulting experts on what its scope should be. But the youth told me today they won't let another year pass without action. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Ottawa.
A public hearing is being held today on the Ford government's bill, which would result in sweeping changes to Ontario's education system. Bill 101 would limit school board sizes, cap the amount paid to trustees, and establish a CEO role as the top employee at a school board. The legislation has been criticized by the opposition, who say it does little to help students. Ontario NDP education critic Sandra Pasma spoke along parent groups ahead of today's hearing.
The government has limited committee hearings to a single day, which means that the vast majority of public voices and perspectives on this bill will not be heard by the committee. Students, parents, teachers and education workers, principals, trustees, disability and equity advocates, and community members have all expressed concerns about Bill 101 and its centralization of power in the hands of a minister who is also giving himself sweeping immunity.
It's a sweet way to give back. Today marks the official launch of the annual Smile Cookie campaign at Tim Hortons locations across Canada. And as CTV's Rita Ismail tells us here in London, every dollar raised is staying local to support two important causes.
Good squeeze. The familiar pink and blue icing is back, marking the return of Smile Cookie Week in Canada. From now until May 3rd, every cookie sold in the region at a participating Tim Hortons location will support Children's Health Foundation and Community Living London.
The funds are being used to support our pediatric oncology, kids with cancer. This will help for research, it will help for direct patient support, it will help purchase equipment that's needed to operate and provide those services.
For families like Tatiana's, the impact is deeply personal. Her 5-year-old daughter, Kellyanna, received specialized care for Wilms tumor at Children's Hospital here in London.
Like knowing what we've been through and knowing that other families before us and after us are going to go through the same thing and they're getting the help that they need. And because of stuff like this, I would do this anytime.
Last year alone, more than 350,000 cookies were sold in the region, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars. And organizers say they're hoping to top that number this year. A portion of the proceeds will also go to Community Living London, helping expand programs that keep people connected.
A lot of these people live at home with families. They've graduated from school. They've lost a lot of their connections with friends, etc., that they went to school with. So now they have an opportunity to come to a day program, meet new people, maybe meet some of the people they used to go to school with, reestablish connections.
With more than $4.5 million raised in the region over the past 2 decades, the message this week is simple. Small acts can make a big difference. Rita Ismail, CTV News.
Coming up on CTV News, Ottawa invests in the private sector through a new sovereign wealth fund. Plus, the emerging story of the weekend shooting at the White House press gala.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
We begin tonight with Ontario's latest.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. ctvlondon.ca, your home for news.
Canadians will soon be able to invest in major nation-building projects. The Prime Minister announced the Canada Strong Fund, an investment vehicle for the private sector and ordinary Canadians that essentially establishes a pool of money to build those projects. CTV's Mike Licouture reports.
Canada's first national sovereign wealth fund.
Using a Canadian Pacific Railway train as a backdrop, the Prime Minister says the new fund will allow Canadians to contribute to projects that will build the nation, like the Iron Spine did 150 years ago. The federal government will put up $25 billion and is counting on Canadians to also invest.
But we intend to provide it in a way where the investment itself, the actual amount of money, is protected. It's something consistent to buying a government bond, but has the upside, the additional return when these projects realize their potential.
Carney added the fund will operate as an independent arm's-length Crown corporation. He also compared it to Norway's Wealth Fund, which is worth more than $2 trillion US. But some economists warn there is a difference.
The funding model in Norway might work better because it's funded through surpluses. But here we need to make sure that we have a stable budget and get rid of those deficits before we think of injecting more money.
Pierre Poilievre points out the Liberals created the Defence Industry Bank and the Infrastructure Bank, which the Conservative leader contends have not borne fruit.
It's déjà vu all over again. Borrowing yet another $25 billion out of the economy to subsidize projects that the government still cannot figure out how to approve.
Carney says the Infrastructure Bank and other agencies do work.
All of those entities are helping underlying businesses at the core to move forward.
The Prime Minister sees this as an opportunity for ordinary Canadians to invest a little money into big Canadian projects. But with the ongoing affordability crisis, it's unclear how many people will have the means to do so. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
The White House is framing the shooting at Saturday night's annual White House Correspondents' Gala as another attempt on the U.S. president's life. The suspect made his first court appearance today. CTV's Joy Malbin reports.
In that terrifying moment, the president and first lady rushed out. In the chaos and confusion, police with guns drawn, there are more questions about how a would-be assassin could have gotten this close. The suspect, California teacher 31-year-old Cole Thomas Allen, who was a guest at the hotel and sprinted past a security checkpoint, shooting at an officer and then arrested.
Today, the Department of Justice filed 3 federal charges. The first count is attempted assassination of the President of the United States. The second count is interstate transportation of a firearm to commit a felony. And the third count is discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence.
Authorities are digging into Allen's past, including a lengthy manifesto he allegedly sent to his family, describing himself as a friendly federal assassin. He wrote he was enraged by the Trump administration officials and would target the highest ranking to the lowest. Pedophile Jeffrey Epstein not mentioned by name in the manifesto, but on 60 Minutes, the president was asked about the gunman's words.
Yeah, he did write that. I'm not a rapist. I didn't rape anybody.
Do you think he was referring to you?
Excuse me. I'm not a pedophile. You read that crap from some sick person.
The president praised law enforcement, but after being targeted 3 times, the White House is blaming Democrats and the media for the increase in political violence.
The deranged lies and smears against the president, his family, his supporters have led crazy people to believe crazy things, and they are inspired to commit violence because of those words. It has to stop.
The White House will review security protocols and possible lapses before future events that include another press dinner, the World Cup, and America's big birthday bash in July. Joy Malbin, CTV News, Washington.
Gary is here now with your full weather forecast. Gary?
You know, I think rain and wind combined with thunderstorms are likely tonight, Lauren, and there's a possibility of lingering showers for tomorrow. We've had a nice little stretch of mild temperatures, even some sunshine earlier today and yesterday. High of 21, 6 degrees above seasonal. Our low is normally closer to 3 degrees within the city limits. We were a couple of degrees warmer than that. But beyond tomorrow, we are going to see a significant cool down. More on that in just a moment. Increasing cloudiness as I speak. Temperatures are still mild across much of southern Ontario, in fact. It's 20 degrees in Wyerton, 3 degrees warmer than it is in Waterloo. The advancing cold front behind all this warm air will eventually cool us down, and you get a sense of how cold it is across North America behind the warm air. And the warmest air is in southern central and southwestern Ontario, moving into southern Quebec, where Montreal's perhaps the warm spot in the country this hour. We are still looking at significant rainfall with thunderstorm, severe thunderstorm threat, likely to stay stateside, but there are a few secondary and tertiary, second and third wave possibilities between now and, say, 3 or 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. So the advancing storm, some light showers, but the second and third waves are likely to bring more. And the winds have been picking up. We've seen wind gusts in the 45 to 50 range, and I think there's a possibility parts of southern Ontario will see it even higher, gusts in the 60 to 70 range with sustained winds in the 40 to 50 range. The rainfall tallies are not impressive, but localized rain with embedded thunderstorms packing more intense punch, could raise those amounts, obviously. The temperatures are still very mild as we predict. From 8 o'clock through 10 midnight, we are still in the mid to upper teens. Note the winds out of the southeast sustained at 30. Some areas will be a little bit, I think, stronger. Velocities maybe 35, even 38, with gusts in the 50-plus range. So windy, rainy, and that's the story. Still warm tomorrow. The worst of the rain and thunderstorm risk or threat is in the morning tomorrow, and then easing up in the afternoon. We'll see that high of 22 close to about 4:30. Wednesday, showers and much cooler. That colder air mass from the west is in place now over the Great Lakes. Still unsettled through Thursday and Friday, and still cool, below seasonal by 5 to 7 degrees. The weekend fares a bit better, but still cooler than average. And a week from now, we're likely into some showers. The Midwest tonight into tomorrow, looking at some rain. It'll be windy tonight and tomorrow, cooler, just like London. For Wednesday, 9 degrees, sunny on Thursday, 10, and then we could be down to lows of -1 or 0 over Friday morning into Saturday. And temperatures rebounding a bit next week, but still we're in a cool trend beyond tomorrow for the next several days. Lauren?
Thanks so much, Gary. Coming up, some tips on deploying new weapons in the ongoing war between cars and rodents.
On Friday, we gave away $50,000 with Your Country's Big $50K payday. A big congratulations to Shiloh.
And the winning continues. Make sure you're listening tomorrow morning at 7:10. Another $100 OLG voucher up for grabs.
The Kearney government is set to release its spring economic update tomorrow. This will give Canadians their first glimpse at the country's finances since the November budget. It comes amid the ongoing trade war with the United States. The Prime Minister has mentioned the update will include some reorganizing of previously announced measures. The Bank of Canada will release its next interest rate decision on Wednesday. No one wants to pay for unnecessary car repairs, but some drivers are frustrated with squirrels and mice building nests under their hood. The rodents can chew on engine parts, and if they do, you could have to pay thousands of dollars to fix the damage. CTV's Pat Foran reports.
I'm just kind of at a loss for what to do because there's squirrels everywhere.
Laura McNulty of Rockton had a 2019 Kia Sorento. Last fall, she noticed squirrels had built a nest in the engine compartment, chewing wires and other car parts.
There was $7,500 worth of damage from rodents that had chewed through a whole bunch of wires and everything.
After paying $7,500 in repairs, she decided to get a 2025 Volkswagen Atlas. But last month, the same thing happened again. This time, the repairs were $6,000.
been a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of inconvenience, and we don't have answers as to what to do.
Some telltale signs you have rodents under the hood. You may see scratches, chewed wires, droppings, and nesting materials.
They just tear the car up.
Mice may enter your car through air vents.
We noticed some debris down on the floor of the vehicle, a little bit of a smell. We went right to the pollen filter, and sure enough, that's where we found the mouse's little home.
You'll need to clean and inspect the vehicle.
We want to clean it up and disinfect it. We need to take care of any repairs that need to be done due to the mouse being in the car, and then we need to prevent it from happening in the future. You definitely don't want to use a vacuum cleaner because it turns all that stuff into airborne contaminants, and then you can breathe them in and cause respiratory problems. Then you want to disinfect the area, replace that pollen filter with a brand new one, and put everything back together.
If you see any wires where the coating has been chewed through, your car might not be safe to drive, and you may need to have it checked by a mechanic. Now, trying to keep those rodents out.
There's peppermint oil pouches that you can put inside your vehicle, and there's also a tape that actually has capsaicin in it. That's the hot part of a chili pepper. If they try to chew on the wiring, they hate the way it tastes, and they go find somewhere else to live.
It's best to keep your car free of food debris. If you park in a garage, keep the door sealed tight and put mouse traps out. McNulty worries it could happen again.
I'm not really sure what we're supposed to do, and we're not really getting answers from car manufacturers on what can be done to prevent this.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Canada's main stock index finished in negative territory to start the week. In Toronto, the TSX fell 86 points, and in New York, the Dow lost 63, but the Nasdaq gained 51. The Canadian dollar added a third of a cent today, and on commodity markets, gold dropped $47 an ounce, and oil gained almost $2 a barrel. And coming up, London home builders spent their weekend giving back to the community.
I was Mississauga Fire at the time. We had a long year of suicides and repetitive suicides. And at the time we had some, as I recall, support in place, but it's not, it wasn't sufficient enough to hold. I like to think of a Jenga tower as kind of where if that's throughout my day and through my career, it wasn't enough to bring support back to the tower. A lot of calls that you never forget. My coping through my career, there'd be periodic uses of alcohol, avoidance or isolation, because that became feeling like that darkness, that kind of lonely feeling of helplessness that kind of goes with that, and a lot of sometimes what ifs. It's not, we have to in our career, right? We can't hold things. We have to move on to the next call. You have to be prepared to, almost like a sponge, you have to kind of wring it out and move on.
Through our work, we've noticed that there's a critical gap in services for first responders who experience a higher rate of PTSD and substance use concerns through the work that they do. The space already exists. What we're looking through this funding is trying to find a way to increase specialization around the services, as we know our first responders have additional needs than the general population. And so what we're trying to do is create a space that is immediate, that someone can access in the community right when they need it, and that we'll have that specialized supports for our first responders.
I'm extremely grateful now is there's services such as CMHA that are not only promoting awareness, but they're actually providing services that first responders are using.
A group of renovators from the London Home Builders Association took on a special project this weekend. Their yearly community build took them to a camp in Kamoka. CTV's Brent Lale reports.
Every year we do a community build, it's what it's called. It's a Renovators Council initiative.
Members of the London Home Builders Association were hard at work tackling a charity project.
It's usually a fun day. We do something small that we can tackle in a single day. Today we took care of these two cabin decks here at Camp Kamoka.
Camp Chemo Key is a classic, inclusive camp owned by the United Church of Canada. It's surrounded by Forest Trail and features cabins and campfire.
It has been here since 1960. I was here as a child in about 61, 62. It has operated as a children's camp in that entire time, and we are constantly doing upgrades. We have made a number of our cabins completely accessible, door operators ramps. We have just come through another major energy project where we have reduced our greenhouse gas emissions by 80%.
Last year, the council built a garden for Indwell's Embassy Commons. This time, it was the deck project.
Always hoping for a charity or a nonprofit organization and something that'll give back to the community. I know there's a lot of members, part of the LHBA, that have gone to Camp Chemo Key or live in the area, so it was close to a lot of them.
In a tough economy, everyone is facing financial challenges. Without this help, the camp says they would have to fundraise and come up with teams capable of doing this type of renovation.
These decks have made a huge difference to our aging cabins. These cabins were built in the early 60s, and they used to just came right off. And it's just wonderful that the London Home Builders Association has contributed so much to finalize our big deck building project.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
A 14-year-old boy wanted in connection with a deadly shooting at Hamilton's Jackson Square Mall on Friday has surrendered to police. The teen is charged with second-degree murder in the death of 16-year-old Nabil Ascafe. Investigators say Ascafe was involved in an altercation before being shot. Hamilton police say the teen suspect surrendered yesterday. They say they are not looking for any additional suspects. There are new recommendations for health officials when it comes to immunizations for babies. As CTV's Pauline Chan tells us, they've expanded the arsenal against infant RSV.
Rachel Fine says it was touch and go for her daughter Willa when she got RSV at the age of 3 months.
And we spent about 3 nights at Sick Kids in the emergency room. There were no beds because it was such a rampant RSV and COVID time for kids.
1 in 1,000 infants will die from RSV. Earlier this month, the National Advisory Committee on Immunizations, or NACI, issued new guidelines aimed at protecting not just high-risk babies, but all infants. 3 of the medications, palivizumab, nirsevimab, and clasrovimab, are for use in babies. The 4th, RSV Pre-F, or Abrysvo, is given to pregnant people at 28 to 36 weeks gestation so they can develop antibodies and pass them on to their developing baby.
So one of the medications is an older medication. It's a monoclonal antibody that now we're not using as much because it required a monthly injection, and that's palivizumab. We're not using that as much because the newer monoclonal antibodies, which are nirsevimab and clasrovimab, 2 different companies, and both of those are long-acting monoclonal antibodies, so the infant just needs 1 shot.
Dr. Brown says the challenge is that many provinces used to just offer immunization for high-risk babies, but 80% of hospital admissions for RSV are in healthy babies, so making coverage universal is key. The vaccine wasn't available yet when Willa got sick.
I know vaccines can be kind of a hot-button issue, but I do get my kids vaccinated, and I think it's really important to get, for pregnant women to get that vaccine.
The end of April is considered the end of RSV season, so babies born in the summer will have to wait until the start of the next RSV season in October to get their immunizations. And pregnant people should speak with their doctor if they're considering the maternal immunization. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Tomorrow, the latest on the former psychiatric hospital just outside of St. Thomas, what the future holds for the redevelopment of the historic site. That's tomorrow at 6 on CTV News.
Let's look at our CTV News weather snapshot. Thanks to Lori McAndrew for this beautiful shot of trillium, such an underrated, gorgeous flower. Expect increasing cloud and wind velocities as we approach the late evening, overnight. We're looking at showers, perhaps beginning around 8 p.m. and There's a risk of thunderstorms embedded with this system. Tomorrow, a high of 19 degrees above seasonal by about 4 degrees, but you'll need the umbrella. More rain to come.
Israel is expanding the scope of its bombing campaign in Lebanon during the ceasefire. The Israeli military continues to conduct strikes in the south, where its troops are occupying a strip of territory. Now, Israel has attacked what it says are Hezbollah targets in an eastern valley. It is the first time the area has been struck since the U.S. brokered truce came into effect on April 16th. The ceasefire has significantly reduced the pace of attacks, but has not stopped the two sides from exchanging fire. Iran has reportedly offered to end its blockade on the Strait of Hormuz without addressing U.S. concerns over its nuclear program. Shipping traffic in the waterway remains tangled due to Iranian restrictions and the U.S. naval blockade on Iranian ports. Sources say Iran has agreed to remove its restrictions in exchange for the U.S. lifting its blockade. The new proposal, which does not address Iran's nuclear program, has reportedly been passed to the U.S. by Pakistan. A fragile ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran remains in place. However, this weekend, U.S. President Donald Trump canceled plans for his top envoys to travel to Pakistan for negotiations. The blockade of the Strait of Hormuz is impacting more than just oil. It's also led to rising prices for fertilizer. That's compounding issues for potato farmers in Prince Edward Island, who were already hurt by a lack of rain last year. CTV's Maria Charoux reports.
On this grading line, potatoes keep rolling, but so do the signs of last year's drought. The team is sorting out defects, and farmer Guy Cudmore says one variety is showing rot he believes could be tied to last year's dry weather. Overall, his crop is down about 30%.
We just slow the process down. You put more people on because you have to try to do a good job. It's certainly going to hurt the bottom line.
Adding to the strain is the Iran war. Fuel to run tractors costs more. The price of fertilizer is climbing too. While some island suppliers purchased product last year, the next bill could be bigger for farmers. And while supply was lower here, across North America, it stayed strong, putting downward pressure on prices.
Farmers are going to have to suck it up.
The PEI Potato Board's Greg Donaldson says growers across PEI saw similar yield losses. Climate change remains one of the industry's biggest challenges, and farmers have spent years improving soil health, rotating crops, and trying drought-resistant varieties.
There's been a lot more interest in looking at supplemental irrigation so long as it can be done responsibly.
He adds, spring brings a reset, a chance to adapt and start again. For Cudmore, that starts here, getting this variety through the line before the next crop is in the ground.
Cudmore plans to start planting in early June, and while he's anxious about the season ahead, he's also hopeful it'll be a better one. Maria Charoux, CTV News, North Winslow, Prince Edward Island.
King Charles begins a 4-day state visit to the United States today. The trip begins with a private meeting with Donald Trump and will also include an address to Congress and a lavish dinner at the White House. The visit marks the 250th anniversary of American independence from British rule, but it also comes at a time of friction between the two close allies over the war in Iran. Trump has voiced displeasure with 10 Downing Street for failing to support the offense. The UK government hopes the King's visit will help shore up the future of the bilateral relationship.
London's top stories.
We have breaking news tonight out of Ottawa. The latest in the
breaking news alerts.
I'm tracking an area of severe weather. It'll start.
And watch live.
A development now to a story from City Hall we brought you.
Download the CTV News app.
There was plenty of music, dancing, culture, and colors at Victoria Park this weekend as festival season kicked off in the Forest City.
3, 2, 1.
We're celebrating the ancient Hindu festival of Holi, which is a festival of colors, which celebrates the coming of spring, the blooming of colors in nature, and us being in sync with nature and getting rid of our negativities and looking, thinking of positive ideas, thinking for the year ahead. The festival actually falls in March, but due to the weather conditions, we've had to push it down to April. The main theme is that unity in diversity, that beyond, beneath all of these colors, that we are all one. We're one family, and that we are one world, and in sync with nature, the beings, animals, plants, everything together.
Finally, tonight, in honor of Earth Day, hundreds of Londoners came together over the weekend to celebrate environmental action in the Forest City. CTV's Brent Lale reports.
Each spring, thousands of volunteers converge along the watershed to clean up garbage and debris.
Just investing a couple hours of your time once a year, or even daily as you're walking, or picking anything up as you're going along helps.
This year's annual cleanup was actually pushed back a week due to the Thames River's rising water.
We find a lot of plastics now. Last year we had a tire, stop sign, a laptop. So you never know what you might find, especially since last weekend with the high water and the flooding.
Downtown, a water song by Tracy White-Eye kicked off Earthfest. It's an annual celebration of climate and environmental action.
Environment affects our health, and whether that's air quality, water quality, or even just the cooling or the heat in the summer. So it's how can we help, and also with biodiversity. So the more that we sprawl the city, the less habitat there is for birds and wildlife, and can we bring some of that into the city.
There were programs in the library and more than 80 vendors. One of them was Reforest London, who were giving away 200 free trees.
We have 10 different species of native trees and shrubs to our Carolinian forest, and so we're encouraging homeowners and residents of the city to plant native species in their yard. We're increasing the native species within our city, so building canopy cover, we're providing habitat for other wildlife, providing shade for your house, for park goers, and really just enhancing greenery within the city.
And back at Gibbons Park,
every little piece counts, and it all adds up to a big amount.
Brent Lale, CTV News.
That's our time tonight. For your latest local updates, you can always head to our website. Our next newscast is tonight at 11. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.